Teachers are salespeople, advertisers, marketers, and the people who call themselves teachers almost always tell me that they are none of those things. Like 99% of them, when I talk to them on a call, they tell me that they are absolutely none of those things. They say they're terrible at sales. They say that they hate advertising and they're no good at marketing, and they don't enjoy that stuff and they don't want to do that stuff. In fact, those things are like dirty words to them a lot of times. They feel like they shouldn't do that being a teacher means that they are none of those things. And that couldn't be further from the truth. Because look, I myself started about 15 years ago as a language teacher. I was overseas, I got a job, and I was working for someone else. And I'll tell you my story a little bit later. But I'm going to connect that all to explain how teachers are actually very, very good business people, marketers, salespeople, advertisers, because a lot of the same skills that they develop in their career are the same exact skills that are useful in those other areas. And when they learn how to apply them over there, when they learn how to use them in a different way, they actually start making a lot more money. Even though a lot of teachers have this martyr mentality. They think that they aren't supposed to make a lot of money. They think that they're supposed to suffer for other people's well-being or something like this. Unfortunately, a lot of teachers have that mentality. But when they make that shift and they realize that that's not true, they don't have to do it that way, and that actually there's no glory in doing it that way, in being a martyr. When they realize this and make this shift, they actually start making a lot more money, and they enjoy it because they get to use the same skills and do the same things that they already love and just get more of a reward for it, more recognition. And you know what? They actually end up helping more people, which is ironic because they think they have to be a teacher and do teacher things to help people. But actually, a lot of those people who feel like they're martyrs, this martyr mentality, who feel like they're going to be like Mother Teresa, they are limiting themselves to a small number of people, and they're not actually helping all the people who need their help. You know, even Mother Teresa had a huge budget. People were investing in her. They're flying her all over the world. There's a reason why. You know, she reached tons and tons of people, thousands, millions of people, right? That's how she helped them. She helped millions of people. She didn't just take what she had, this special thing that she had, and hide it and just keep it to herself. She shared it with the world. That's how she really helped people. So that's what teachers should be aiming to do, striving to do. And in order to do that, they have to acquire some additional skills. They're not really new skills. They're just a shift, a small shift from what they already do, what they already know, the skills that they already have. And so back to my story, I'll make this really quick. I started out 15 years ago teaching English overseas. And I worked for someone else for 1.5 years, and I hated it. I just hated it. You know, it was that lack of freedom that I felt. That's what pushed me to then start my own offline language school. It's very ironic. You know, a lot of people talk about wanting to achieve freedom, financial freedom especially. But in my case, it was more of a physical freedom because I was basically being held hostage by my visa to be in the country. So the company that I worked for, they sponsored the visa, and they basically said, if you don't do everything that we tell you to do the way that we tell you to do it, then we can just revoke your visa and you'll have to leave the country. And that definitely didn't feel good. It felt like I was a slave. It felt like I was being held hostage. It felt like my freedom was taken away. You've probably felt like that too. Maybe not in such drastic terms, maybe not such dire situations as that, but it felt like I had no freedom, and that did not feel good. And you might feel like that too right now. You might feel like your job is too demanding, or they're telling you to do things in a way that just doesn't make sense, or they just don't pay you enough for you to really be happy and you know, not only to survive, but have a comfortable life, the life that you should have. Teachers are out there helping people and improving people's lives, and so often they're undervalued, you know, and that's a kind of freedom that is taken away, and it feels like a big limitation on you. And so you have a choice to either accept that or to find something better or to create something better for yourself. And so that's the choice that I faced. And what I had to do at that point was decide, do I want to stay being held hostage by this job, or Do I want to find my own way, even though I don't really know how it's going to go? Because in my case, I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have a course. I should have been smart enough to go find those things, right? Because it would be much faster if I found someone who already did it to just show me the way. But I didn't. And so it took me a long time. So I went and tried to start this thing. I started an offline business. I worked. And even though I was trying to gain more freedom by leaving the job that I had, I actually found that I traded one type of freedom for another. Because when I worked for someone else, I had a lot of free time to do stuff that I thought I wanted to do. Back then, I thought it was important. Now, if I look back, I think that it was wasted time. But when I started my own business, then I saw that I was working more hours and I was making less money than I had made at the job before. And so for me, the primary thing was the freedom, and the money part wasn't such a big issue for a period of time. I needed to improve it. And so that required me to learn new skills. And it took me years really, to figure out how to make it work for me, to figure out that I couldn't be the one teaching all the lessons, that I couldn't be the one delivering all of the services all the time, that I needed a team, I needed other people. And if I was going to successfully have a team, I needed to learn how to manage people. I needed to learn how to build these different pieces of the business so that everything worked the way that it was supposed to work, and so that I could get my freedom back once again. So first, I wanted to achieve freedom by not being held hostage by the company that I was in. And then I needed to achieve freedom by not being held hostage by myself, by my own business. Because, a lot of times people don't like their boss, and that might be the reason why they want to start their own business, go out on their own, or just, leave their job and find something better. But when you start your own business, you trade one boss for thousands of bosses. Those bosses are called your customers, your clients. And a lot of times you just don't know what you're doing and you're making things worse. And so if you have someone guiding you, then, it can go a lot faster. For me, I didn't have that. It took me years. And so I finally figured out how to do that. And I was able to take a step back and let the business run on its own. And that's when I moved back to the United States, and I was able to leave the business with someone else running it, but then I needed to move things online. Back in the States, things were more expensive. So I had to find another way. I had to start again from zero. And I understood what it was like to have an offline business, and I didn't want to do that again. So I decided I was going to do it online. But the problem was I didn't know anything about online business, online marketing. I didn't know how to get customers online. And I had to start from zero once again. And so I was seeking that freedom again. And back in the United States, things were so expensive that it really was about financial freedom at that point. I had a little bit of money saved from my business overseas, but when I came to the US and had to spend in dollars, it was really nothing. I was, renting, barely had enough to just get a car to get around. And so I could only meet the bare minimum standards of living. It was not a good situation, and we were basically living out of the car. And so, just imagine that you have been successful, you've started a business, people look up to you, and then you go somewhere else and people think you're nothing, right? It was really a big hit to my ego. And I think a lot of teachers deal with that, because if you've been working the same job or you've been in the same career for 10 years or more, then you feel like you've already accomplished something, right? People look up to you, you have experience. You're not the new kid on the block. But when you start a new business or when you move to a new place, especially a place that's more expensive, then suddenly all of those things you did before don't look like such big achievements. And you have to prove yourself again. And that can be one of the hardest things for a teacher, a coach, an educator, an expert to do when they move online, when they start their online business or any kind of business, because it feels like you've already achieved something in your life, but now you have to prove it again. And you have to prove it with new skills. So you have to learn something completely new. And that was really difficult. And so that time around, I finally had the sense to go look for help. And I found some people who were teaching how to do online marketing. And I found coaches and mentors and programs and books. And I just absorbed all of it. And you know what? It only took a short period of time. It was about 2 years before I actually was able to make a living from doing that. And then, I wondered, well, what's the difference between me doing this online and all of those other teachers and coaches who are out there struggling to do it too? And why am I just making a living and not more? So I invested more of my time learning, mastering online marketing, and figuring out how to really scale the business that I had built, which was difficult. And not everybody was able to do that. And I looked around and I saw all the people who were in the same niche, in the same industry as me, and they weren't really doing it. And I thought, why not? So I took examples from other industries, from other niches. And in just a very short time, I was able to reach my first $1 million year, where we did $1.2 million in just 10 months. And at that point, it felt like I had finally achieved something, right? Because there were so many people, teachers, educators, and different people who were trying to do business online who hadn't reached that goal. And honestly, there's a lot of people who never will. So I looked back at my process, all of the steps that I had taken from day one until reaching that final goal, and then of course continuing after there. But I looked at that and condensed it all into a program. And that's when I decided, you know what, I'm gonna help other teachers, coaches, experts do the same thing. So I put all of those steps into this massive program that basically included everything that I did to get there. And I put it on a website and started offering it to people. So I became a business coach to education companies, people providing different kinds of education and coaching. And then after that, I took another step in my career, which was to start a marketing agency, which helped those education companies get more clients. And then after that, I became a business advisor, a business mentor, and also a marketing expert and marketing coach, so that I could go into different people's businesses that already existed, that were already successful, and help them grow and scale from there. And you know what? I'm telling you all of this, my long story here, just because I did all of that with the skills that I learned as a teacher. I never stopped being a teacher. I just took on different roles. I just put on different hats. It was just different responsibilities, but most of all, it was learning. It was learning new skills. It was gaining new knowledge. And sometimes that knowledge came from books that I read. Sometimes it came from courses that I took. And sometimes it came from masterminds or group meetings, or just talking to people who knew what they were doing, talking to people who were a couple steps ahead of me, and they could just guide me in the right direction and show me the pitfalls, show me what to look out for. And that really put me ahead of a lot of other people. I'm telling you that, again, because you have those skills, you have that knowledge, you have everything that you need as a teacher, as a coach, as an educator. If you educate people right now, then there are a lot of the same skills that you can just slightly tweak, that you can use a little differently, and you can start selling. You can start advertising, marketing, because all of those skills are about influencing someone's identity and beliefs. When you can change someone's beliefs, you can make them understand the world differently. And that's what a teacher does. A teacher helps someone see the world differently. And that's what a marketer does. That's what a salesperson does. That's what an advertiser does. So all of these different names, roles, professions, whatever you want to call them, they are using the same skill set, and you already have that skill set. And that's the most surprising thing, is that most of the teachers out there don't know that they already have this skill set. And if they just use it in a slightly different way, they would be making a lot more money. So if you've been struggling as a teacher to make the amount of money that you truly deserve, or to have that freedom to do things the way that you know are better, the way that you know you could help more people. And if you feel trapped in the job you have, or if you feel trapped by the amount of money you make, there are a lot of different ways to feel trapped. I've told you about a couple different ways that it happened to me, and you want to find that freedom. If that's true about you, then I want to help you use those skills that you already have to do more, okay? Under this video, I'm going to put the link to a free training that I have so that you can use those teacher skills, those educator skills, those coaching skills that you already have, and you can apply them slightly differently and get bigger results for yourself, but also for the people you help. So that's all I have to say in this video. Make sure you subscribe to this channel, click the link under the video to go learn more, and I will see you in the next one.